Have you ever felt perfectly fine on the outside, yet deep down you sensed something in your body was slowly slipping out of balance? Something you couldn't quite name but couldn't ignore either. Many Americans over 50 tell me the same thing, and as a physician I've learned that this quiet feeling is rarely just nothing. In fact, your kidneys often whisper before they scream, and too many people miss those whispers until it is far too late. Over the years, I've seen patients who walked into my clinic with only mild fatigue or swelling, and within months their creatinine skyrocketed, their blood pressure became unpredictable, and the organs they trusted every single day were suddenly struggling to keep them alive. And what shocks them most is not the diagnosis, but how simple daily habits, even the fruits they were eating every morning, were silently pushing their kidneys closer to danger. That's why I need you to hear this next part clearly. Kidney decline does not happen overnight. It builds slowly, quietly, and visibly until one day your lab results reveal a number that changes everything. If you've ever felt bloating, morning heaviness, lower back tightness, or unexplained tiredness, your kidneys may already be working harder than you realize. And ignoring these signals, even for a short time, can accelerate damage faster than most people expect, especially if you're eating certain high-potassium fruits that seem healthy but can be devastating when creatinine is high. But here's the part that gives me hope and why I'm speaking to you today. Because just as some fruits can harm your kidneys, others can heal them gently, consistently, and powerfully if you know exactly which ones to choose and how to use them. So stay with me because in the next few minutes, I'm going to show you the 6 morning fruits that help your kidneys recover and the 3 fruits you must avoid before they push your health past a point you can't easily return from. The first fruit I want you to pay attention to is one almost every American has in their kitchen. Yet very few realize how powerfully it supports the kidneys the moment the day begins. Lemon may look simple, but for your kidneys, it works like a gentle internal reset, especially when the body has spent the whole night filtering toxins. I still remember a patient named Margaret, a 67-year-old retired teacher from Ohio, who came to me frustrated with her rising creatinine and persistent morning heaviness. She wasn't eating anything unusual, just her usual toast and coffee, yet her kidneys were under silent stress. When I asked about her hydration routine, she admitted she often skipped mornings. That was the turning point. We introduced warm lemon water first thing each day, and within weeks, her lab results revealed something remarkable. Her citrate levels improved, her risk of stone formation plummeted, and her creatinine gently shifted downward. This isn't magic, it's science. Research from U.S. kidney health programs shows that daily lemon intake increases urinary citrate and reduces calcium stone formation by nearly 28%, giving your kidneys the breathing room they desperately need. And the acidity of lemon helps the stomach process breakfast more efficiently, reducing the digestive burden often mistaken for just getting older. But here's the part most people overlook. Morning lemon water doesn't just cleanse. It helps protect renal tissues from the oxidative stress that accelerates kidney decline. But knowing this alone isn't enough because the next fruit supports your kidneys in a completely different and surprisingly powerful way. If lemon helps your kidneys wake up gently, then watermelon steps in as a cooling protector that keeps them from being overwhelmed as the day begins. I saw this clearly in a patient named Robert, a 71-year-old retired truck driver who came to me with swollen ankles, rising creatinine, and a heavy ache in his lower back. He thought it was simply getting older, but his kidneys were sending warning signals he didn't recognize. When we looked at his diet, it was obvious he lacked antioxidant-rich foods that reduce kidney inflammation. So I asked him to try something simple, one small bowl, about 150 grams of fresh watermelon each morning. 8 weeks later, his lab results revealed something remarkable. His creatinine dropped by 17% and his inflammation markers decreased significantly. This matches findings from Harvard Health showing that lycopene, the antioxidant responsible for watermelon's red color, directly reduces oxidative stress in kidney tissue. And because watermelon is over 90% water, it supports blood flow, eases filtration, and helps aging kidneys work without strain. But what Robert noticed first wasn't the numbers. It was the feeling lighter mornings, easier movement, and finally waking up without that dull pressure he had carried for years. Watermelon didn't cure his kidneys, but it gave them room to breathe, room to recover, and room to function the way his body desperately needed. But only knowing this isn't enough because the next fruit protects kidney cells on a much deeper level, one most people never hear about until it's too late. If watermelon gives your kidneys room to breathe blueberries, take it a step further by defending them at the cellular level, something most fruits simply can't do. I first understood how powerful this tiny berry truly is when I met Elaine, a 64-year-old librarian who came to me exhausted by unpredictable creatinine readings and constant inflammation. She told me she felt like her kidneys were on fire inside, even though she was doing everything she believed was healthy. But when I reviewed her diet, one thing was missing: deep antioxidant-rich foods that could neutralize the oxidative stress attacking her kidneys day after day. So we made one small change. Each morning, she added a handful, about 100 to 150 grams of fresh blueberries to her oatmeal. Within just 3 months, her lab results reflected exactly what recent U.S. nutritional studies have shown: patients who consume blueberries daily can lower creatinine by measurable levels and improve glomerular filtration rate, thanks to anthocyanins, the natural pigments that give blueberries their deep blue color. These compounds act like microscopic shields, protecting kidney cells from inflammation and slowing the very processes that push kidneys toward long-term decline. Elaine told me the first improvement she noticed wasn't even in her numbers. It was in her energy, her clarity, and a new sense of steadiness she hadn't felt in years. But as remarkable as blueberries are, relying on them alone won't prevent kidney stress, especially when the next fruit plays a critical role in detoxifying the very bloodstream your kidneys work so hard to filter. If blueberries protect kidney cells from inflammation, apples tackle a different challenge: detoxifying the very bloodstream your kidneys struggle to filter every single day. I realized just how transformative this simple fruit can be when I worked with James, a 69-year-old Navy veteran who had battled rising creatinine for nearly 2 years. He told me he felt like his blood had become heavier, and in many ways he was right. His kidneys were overloaded with waste products his body couldn't clear fast enough. When I reviewed his routine, James admitted he peeled his apples out of habit, never knowing he was removing the most powerful part. So we made one small adjustment: one whole apple each morning, skin included. Within 4 months, his lab showed a 12% reduction in creatinine, a result that lines up perfectly with findings from the American Journal of Kidney Diseases. The secret lies in pectin, the soluble fiber concentrated in the peel. Pectin binds to toxins, lowers bad cholesterol, and reduces the metabolic load that forces kidneys to work overtime. For James, the first change he felt wasn't in the numbers, it was in his breathing, his steadiness, and his sense of lightness after eating. Apples also deliver antioxidants that protect blood vessels feeding the kidneys, helping stabilize blood pressure and improve filtration efficiency. And because they're low in potassium compared to many fruits, they provide nourishment without adding stress to weakened kidneys. But apples, powerful as they are, can't dissolve deeper inflammatory buildup hiding inside kidney tissues, something another fruit handles with surprising effectiveness. If apples help your bloodstream feel lighter, pineapple goes deeper, targeting the stubborn inflammation that silently corrodes kidney tissue over time. I discovered how transformative this fruit can be when I worked with Linda, a 63-year-old grandmother who came to me exhausted from years of fluctuating kidney numbers and constant fluid retention. She described the sensation as a slow burn inside something no medication had been able to quiet. When she told me she had cut pineapple out of her diet years ago because she thought it was too sweet, I knew we had an opportunity to rebuild her routine from the inside out. We started with a simple portion, just a cup of fresh pineapple in the morning. 6 weeks later, her follow-up results revealed something extraordinary: a 20% decrease in inflammatory markers and a noticeable drop in her creatinine levels. This aligns with findings from the Journal of Inflammation Research, which highlight bromelain, the enzyme found abundantly in pineapple, as a powerful natural anti-inflammatory that helps reduce swelling within kidney tissue and enhances filtration efficiency. Linda's first noticeable change wasn't in her labs, it was in her comfort. She told me she felt cooler inside, as if the pressure she had carried for years finally lifted. Pineapple's combination of vitamin C, bromelain, and low potassium makes it a rare, triple-benefit fruit for kidney health. But its greatest strength lies in its ability to soothe the inflammation that accelerates kidney decline faster than most people realize. Yet even with all its benefits, pineapple can't solve the metabolic imbalance tied to insulin resistance, something another fruit addresses more directly. If pineapple cools the inflammation deep inside your kidneys, then green banana addresses a more silent and dangerous threat, insulin resistance, one of the hidden forces that pushes creatinine up faster than most people realize. I first saw the impact of this fruit when I worked with Daniel, a 59-year-old accountant who had been battling high blood sugar and early-stage kidney decline. He told me he felt trapped in a cycle where every meal left him tired, foggy, and more swollen than the day before. And when I reviewed his diet, I understood why everything he ate spiked his blood sugar, forcing his kidneys to work overtime. So we rebuilt his morning routine with something he had never considered: half a cup of cooked green banana. Not ripe banana, the firm, lightly sweet, resistant, starch-rich green banana. 8 weeks later, his results mirrored exactly what clinical research has shown. Resistant starch reduces insulin spikes, restores metabolic balance, lowers inflammation, and helps creatinine gradually decline. In Daniel's case, his insulin levels dropped by nearly 20%, and the swelling in his legs began to fade. He told me it felt like his body finally calmed down, as if the internal chaos driving his kidney stress had finally slowed. Green bananas are uniquely powerful because their resistant starch feeds the gut in a way that stabilizes blood sugar, supports weight control, and reduces the metabolic pressure that silently damages kidneys in millions of adults across America. Their low sugar content makes them one of the safest fruits for kidney-compromised patients. But stabilizing metabolism alone isn't enough because many people unknowingly sabotage their progress with everyday fruits that overload the kidneys with dangerous potassium. Just when most people feel confident choosing fruits that support their kidneys, bananas appear to be the harmless everyday option, but for anyone with elevated creatinine, they can quietly become one of the most dangerous. I saw this firsthand with Henry, a 66-year-old retired mechanic who came to me confused about why his kidney numbers kept climbing, even though he had cut down on salt, sugar, and processed foods. When we reviewed his diet, he proudly told me he replaced his pastries with a healthy morning banana every single day, and that was the moment everything clicked. What Henry didn't know, and what millions of Americans overlook, is that bananas are extremely high in potassium. One medium banana packs nearly 420 milligrams more than enough to overwhelm kidneys that are already struggling to filter waste. In patients with compromised kidney function, potassium doesn't exit the bloodstream efficiently. Instead, it builds up quietly, pushing creatinine higher and placing the heart at severe risk. Studies published by the National Kidney Foundation warn that excessive potassium can trigger dangerous arrhythmias, weakness, and sudden drops in blood pressure. In Henry's case, his potassium levels were rising without symptoms, a silent threat he couldn't feel until it became serious. When he removed bananas from his routine, his potassium normalized, his creatinine stabilized, and for the first time in months, his energy returned. Sometimes the foods that seem the simplest can carry the greatest hidden risks. But even avoiding bananas isn't enough, because another everyday fruit, one that looks refreshing and innocent, can overload the kidneys even faster. If bananas hide their danger behind a reputation of being healthy oranges, and orange juice pose an even sneakier risk because they look refreshing, bright, and harmless. That illusion cost one of my patients, Teresa, a 62-year-old former school counselor, months of worsening kidney numbers before she even knew what was happening. She told me she started every morning with a tall glass of orange juice, believing it was the cleanest, purest way to support her immune system. But her kidneys were quietly drowning in potassium. What most Americans don't realize is that oranges, and especially orange juice, contain far higher potassium concentrations than the body can handle when kidney function is reduced. 1 cup of orange juice packs over 470 milligrams of potassium, more than an entire banana, and because it's liquid, it floods the bloodstream, rapidly forcing weakened kidneys to work far beyond their capacity. Studies from the National Kidney Foundation show that high potassium fruit juices are among the fastest triggers of potassium overload, a condition that elevates creatinine, destabilizes heart rhythm, and can become life-threatening without warning. When Teresa cut out the orange juice, her potassium levels dropped within weeks, her creatinine stabilized, and for the first time in months, she felt her energy returning. She looked at me and said, "I thought I was doing everything right, but I was drinking the very thing hurting me." But even recognizing the hidden danger in orange juice isn't enough, because the next fruit, often praised as a superfood, can overwhelm your kidneys with potassium at a level far more intense than most people imagine. If oranges can overwhelm the kidneys with liquid potassium, avocados take that danger to an entirely different level, because their potassium load is far more concentrated, far more intense, and often completely hidden behind their superfood reputation. I'll never forget my patient Marlene, a 58-year-old fitness instructor who came to me utterly confused about why her creatinine kept rising, even though she exercised daily and ate what she believed was a textbook clean diet. When we walked through her meals, she proudly told me she ate avocado toast every morning, adding half an avocado to her salads later in the day. And that was the moment everything suddenly made sense. A single avocado contains close to 1,000 milligrams of potassium, more than double a banana, and far beyond what compromised kidneys can safely handle. Research from the American Society of Nephrology shows that consistently consuming high-potassium superfood fruits like avocados can push creatinine up rapidly, leading to dangerous electrolyte imbalances and ultimately forcing the kidneys into metabolic distress. When potassium accumulates faster than the kidneys can clear it, it doesn't cause immediate symptoms, just a silent, steady rise that turns into arrhythmias, muscle weakness, and sudden spikes in blood pressure. When Marlene removed avocados from her meals, her potassium levels fell back into range, her creatinine stabilized, and she told me she felt lighter and less toxic within just 2 weeks. It wasn't her workouts causing stress, it was the fruit she trusted the most. But even eliminating avocados isn't the full answer, because the real threat to kidney recovery often comes from habits far outside the fruit bowl. Taking care of your kidneys is not a one-time decision. It's a daily commitment, a quiet promise you make to yourself every morning you wake up and choose foods that support healing rather than damage. If you've followed this far, I want you to remember something important: you are not powerless and your kidneys are not doomed. Even small choices, adding blueberries to breakfast, drinking warm lemon water, swapping harmful fruits for safer ones, can create real measurable change. I've seen patients in their 60s, 70s, even their 80s improve filtration, lower creatinine, and regain energy simply by applying the exact principles you learned today. So if any part of this video spoke to you, please don't let it fade away. Save this video so you can come back to it anytime you need guidance or reassurance. And if someone in your family has kidney concerns, send it to them. Your share might be the moment that prevents years of silent damage. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel and turn on all notifications. Every week I release new medical guidance, kidney-safe food lists, evidence-based habits, and early warning signs that could protect you or someone you love. I want you to have the most up-to-date tools, not outdated myths or quick fixes that never work. And as we close, let me leave you with this: healing doesn't always start in a hospital. Sometimes it begins in your kitchen, in the quiet of a morning routine, or in the awareness that your health deserves attention today, not someday. Your kidneys have carried you through decades of life, filtering every drop of blood, every hour, every single day. They've never asked for a break, so give them the care they've been giving you all along. Take a breath, take this knowledge with you, and take one small step today. Your future self will thank you. And remember, you're not alone on this journey. I'm here, and together we'll keep rebuilding your health, one smart choice at a time.